bring in Daryl Ruiter. He's brought to you by Shab & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Hello, Daryl.
Hello, boys. Good morning.
Daryl, what do you think of Shedeur Sanders on Saturday, and how or when or how does he go about the business of getting the chance to bounce back from it?
Yeah, he wasn't very good. Certainly didn't handle the pressure all that well. Sacked 5 times. The big play, obviously, the 23-yard sack that set up a 3rd and 36, and there's just no digging out of that hole. Look, some of the bad habits that he had in college showed up when dealing with the pressure, and you can't run around with your back to the line of scrimmage like that in the National Football League. You just can't do things like that. But as far as an opportunity to bounce back, well, that's just going to have to wait, because he is 4th on the depth chart out of 4 quarterbacks. He'll have to really take advantage of what practice time he gets. If he gets to run scout team during practice as the season progresses, certainly take advantage of those things. But I was it disappointed to see on Saturday? Sure, but I don't think it's anything to really freak out about. People need to understand Shadour is being asked to do a lot of stuff he's never been asked to do before. Learning a playbook. There's really understanding and picking apart defenses and things like that. There's a process that comes with that. So I'm not all that worried about a subpar performance in a preseason finale from him.
Did you think the offenses were different between the offenses that the other QBs ran and the one Shedeur Sanders tried to run?
Well, I think the difference was he was running around. I didn't feel like that there was a dramatic difference. And I saw some of the conversation online, which I thought some of it was really ludicrous. But, keep in mind, too, okay, so Shadour wasn't going with the Browns 1s or 2s, right? He was also going against the Rams practice squad, essentially. The Rams brought 48 players to Cleveland. They left their starters in Los Angeles. So the level of competition was pretty comparable. It wasn't like Shedeur Sanders was given the Browns scrubs and he had to go against the Rams' first-team defense. Let's get realistic about this, people.
All right, Daryl, what about going with Huntley, a guy who's no longer on the Browns, for that final drive? What was the purpose of that?
I think Kevin wanted to win the game, number one. Number two, I think he wanted to see Andre Schmidt in a game-winning type of a situation, and he kind of figured Tyler Huntley was going to get them in that position so they could see that. He did. They did see it. They won the game. So, and look, I honestly, Shadour got 5 drives to do something, and 4 of them he went 3 and out. Let's not act like Shedeur Sanders did not get an ample opportunity in that preseason game on Saturday, because he did. Now, I also am willing to hear the argument, hey, why not see that kid in that 2-minute situation as well and put him in a little bit of pressure cooker and see how he responded? Well, I saw how he was responding for 5 drives, and it was not all that great. So, I understand both sides of the argument there, but I kind of get what Stefanski was going for.
I don't. Daryl, I got to say, I don't at all. I mean, you made a great case, because I'm sitting here thinking, all right, that's a decent point, that's a decent point, that's a decent point. But in the end, the most important part of any of this, to me, is
evaluating Shadour.
It's about Shadour, and he didn't play in one of the games because he was injured. So, yeah, he had 5 drives in this one. They were deplorable. You're exactly right. It looked like he was in his own head. But to have the entire preseason, to have him only play in the 2 games, it's just not a sample. And I feel like it's impossible to know anything about this guy because we're not going to see him again. When's the next time we're actually going to see him throw a football that
probably
that
the
matters?
Season finale.
Oof.
Right. No, I mean, let's be realistic about it, right? I mean, whatever he ends up starting this year, if he does, and honestly, I think if you gave everybody in the Browns organization, at least in the decision-making process, truth serum outside of ownership, they would tell you that they would love to redshirt Shadour and not play him this year and just really allow him to spend the year really learning and studying the offense, learning and studying film, learning and studying Joe Flacco and the other quarterbacks in the room, right? But we know how this movie is going to end. It's going to end with Shedeur Sanders starting the season finale in Cincinnati with nothing on the line. It's going to be a meaningless game for the Browns, and then we're all going to try and make snap judgments on whether or not Shedeur Sanders is an NFL quarterback in the making based off a meaningless start at the end of a season, right? And that's going to be grossly unfair. So, but yeah, I don't think that the Browns really want to start him, and he's not ready to start either. So I don't think Dillon Gabriel's ready to start either, but we're going to see Dillon Gabriel long before we see Shedeur Sanders.
If Shedeur Sanders were cut, do you believe he would be immediately picked up by another team?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that he would have a better opportunity with that other team?
Well, depending on their depth chart, Ken. And just because, here's the other thing, too. Opportunity does not mean he positioned for success. Opportunity comes out of desperation as well. And I don't think that Shedeur Sanders would be set up for success even if he got opportunity out of desperation. I don't think that I don't think the kid's ready yet. I think he's got raw talent. I think he's got some ability, but I really don't have a problem with the Browns slow rolling this process with him, because I think that's what's going to give this kid the best chance of long-term success in the NFL.
What about the added element of everything that comes with Shadour, the good and the bad? I mean, you get a Nike ad the moment after the first preseason game. I didn't see another one.
Actually, it was during the preseason game.
Oh, the preseason game, yeah.
Yeah, it was after his first touchdown.
Oh, I got you. Okay. And just the added element of that, everybody, talking heads, talking about sabotage and being held hostage and racist organization. Like, that's all the stuff you're going to get when you pick him up. Not his fault. By the way, I don't think any of that is his fault.
I mean, there are things, as I said earlier, there's a lot of stuff he's being asked to do right now that he's never been asked to do before. And he's being held accountable for stuff that he's never been held accountable for. And that's not to say that there's any problems behind the scenes. That's all I'm saying. But, like, at Colorado, there were stories where he didn't have to show up to offensive meetings. It didn't matter. Well, here in Cleveland, you have to show up to those meetings. You have to show up to the quarterback meetings. You got to show up to the offensive meetings. Then you got to show up to the team meetings. You got to learn this thick playbook and all the combinations that come with these plays and the checks and the check with me's and all this type of stuff. There's so many things that he has to learn that he's never been asked to learn before, and that takes a little time. He's not been exposed to that. And so this notion that, like I said, the discourse online, I had to put away yesterday because it made no sense to me, and it was people that I think were engagement farming and trying to pick some low hanging fruit that, quite frankly, just is not there. And he's popular. Well, yes, there's no question about it. He's a marketable kid. The Browns are selling a ton of Shedeur Sanders jerseys. It's going to be a little awkward, I think, as we go deep into the season and there's a bunch of number 12 Shedeur Sanders jerseys in the stands and he's not on the field. I get it. But I don't think that the fact that he's popular, he's marketable, he's an internet sensation, I don't think that any of those things are negatives or things that should be used against him by the organization.
Well, Daryl, because I caught some heat earlier today because I said, he's in the worst QB room in the NFL.
Which is not a lie.
Oh, well, thank you very much. For a second, I thought you were going to say that's not true. We were going to fight. Because I look at the other situations.
It's an island of misfit toys, Ken.
Exactly. Well, Daryl, that's exactly it. Like, send him to the Raiders. I go, they have their guy in Geno Smith. They do not. They believe they have somewhat of a future with Geno Smith. Tyler Shuck in New Orleans. Of course, we know that. Jackson Dart with the Giants. Of course, we know that. Justin Fields with the Jets. He's not going to get any more first-team reps with any of these other teams. And so all you're doing with those other teams that are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to QBs, or in your neighborhood, I should say, you're just hoping for injury for those guys. And fans can root for whatever they want, but you're not in that same category here. This is the only chance where naturally it may very well come to Shadour. That's all. That's the point I have to make. Now, my issue with it is when you do have four guys and you put them fourth on the depth chart, because, hey, I made no secret about it. I think that the ceiling for Dillon Gabriel is probably a backup quarterback in the NFL. I
100%. think that's exactly what it is, Ken.
I feel in so many ways that Kenny Pickett might be getting in the way. We'll see. I'll try to be open-minded when he eventually gets his crack. And so now I'm thinking, well, how much real work are you going to be able to do to get you in the neighborhood of ready by the time he does play week 17? Or I tried to say after Thanksgiving. I mean, you're saying week 17, okay, or week 18, I should say. How soon can he get acclimated with nothing else going on? It's hard.
And like I said, I don't know that it makes sense to play him this year because I don't know that sets him up for success. Believe it or not, this notion that the Browns invested in this kid, albeit it's a fifth-round pick, but the notion that they invested in this kid, but they're just out to just end his career and to sabotage his life, it might be the most absurd stuff. You mean to tell me a franchise who hasn't had a franchise quarterback in 3 decades is just going to go out and stick it to a kid just for the fun of it? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the discourse that's going on right now, that Kevin Stefanski is just going to try and stick it to this kid to prove a point. No, if the kid can play, Kevin's going to put him on the field. The Browns are desperate. They're as desperate as it gets to find a quarterback. They're looking under seat cushions for quarterbacks right now. So I just, like I said, the discourse out there is just beyond absurd, that they're trying to stick it to this kid. They're trying to ruin this kid. They're trying to punish this kid. They're trying to make a point with this kid. It's beyond absurd. If Shedeur Sanders can play and play at a high level, he's going to be on the field because they're desperate to find anyone that can play that position with regularity and at a high level.
All right, Daryl, they're also desperate to find a kicker. Do you think they've got one on the roster?
Yeah, that's going to be the position to watch over the next 24 to 36 hours here as we get to that 4 p.m. cut down. Well, for the Browns, it's going to be sooner than that because they're going to hit the practice field tomorrow in the 3 o'clock hour. So we're going to know what that initial 53 looks like. And honestly, I think we got a pretty good idea now that they made the 21 roster moves that they made yesterday. I don't know, Anthony. They committed to Dustin Hopkins. They gave him that 3-year contract. I think that's a mitigating factor, the fact that he's a veteran. But here's the thing. What he did in 2023, right, when he was just bombing those 50-yard field goals, I mean, that was not in line with what he normally did in his career. He's a 50% kicker beyond 50 yards throughout his career. He's back to being what he's been in his career. I think the magic fairy dust that came with him when he first arrived has worn off, and he's just back to being who he's always been as a kicker. I don't know, Anthony, if they've got the guy in Dustin and if they're going to stick with him. I lean towards they will because, again, they gave him the contract. He's a veteran. They love veterans, but the kicking situation is something we're going to have to not only monitor in the next 36 hours, but I think we're going to have to monitor it throughout the season.
When will they announce the Justin Tucker signing?
Oh, jeez. Come on now.
What is your problem?
I'm just... why is that so crazy?
All right. Daryl, thank you very much for the time. Are you keeping it down because you have neighbors close to you now and you're afraid you're going to wake them up?
I have to behave myself now.
So now it's live. So now that everybody knows this, it's Lyman Eye's goal to get you really mad and screaming now.
This will be good.
That's the whole point of it now.
To get a knock on my door?
By the way, in Requiem for a Dream, do you think he was just going nuts or was he really killing people? Because he's in an apartment building. You're telling me nobody else can hear chainsaws and everything else going on? I think he was losing his mind.
I think he was
not
losing his
Requiem for a
too.
Dream, American Psycho. American Psycho. I said that's a totally different. Yeah. Mom was losing it in that movie. All right.
You got the streams crossed there, Ken.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Sorry, I apologize. Daryl, thank you for the time.
You bet, guys. Have a great week.